Welcome to this in-depth exploration of one of Carl Gustav Jung's most important works, the Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious. In this video, we will unpack the central ideas of this book, illuminate its key archetypes, and understand how Jung's vision of the human psyche bridges mythology, dreams, religion, and personal psychology. This is more than a psychological text. It's a philosophical map of the soul. Let us begin with the foundation. What is an archetype? Jung defines archetypes as universal, inherited patterns that reside in the collective unconscious. These are not learned ideas or personal memories. They are primordial forms or tendencies that shape how human beings perceive, feel, and behave. Archetypes are instinctual blueprints that arise spontaneously in dreams, myths, visions, and art. They express themselves in the same way across cultures and eras, appearing as motifs like the hero, the wise old man, the great mother, the trickster, the shadow, and the divine child. Jung writes that archetypes are forms without content, but once they enter consciousness, they are filled with personal experience and emotion. This brings us to Jung's other revolutionary concept, the collective unconscious. Unlike the personal unconscious, which is shaped by individual experience, the collective unconscious is universal. It is shared by all humans and contains the archetypes as its contents. This deeper layer of the unconscious explains why myths and religious symbols recur throughout history and across cultures. Why do creation myths, great floods, hero journeys, and divine births appear in nearly every tradition? Because they originate not from culture, but from the structure of the psyche itself. They are the human soul dreaming itself into the world that I am. The archetypes and the collective unconscious. Jung explores many of these archetypes in great detail. He begins with the persona, the social mask we wear to adapt to collective norms. The persona is necessary, but dangerous if we over-identify with it. When we believe our role or identity is all that we are, we lose contact with the deeper self. Beneath the persona lies the shadow. The shadow is everything in ourselves we deny, reject, or repress. It is not only our darker impulses, but also our unlived potential. To integrate the shadow is to confront the truth of who we are. Jung believed that the encounter with the shadow is the first major test of psychological growth. Without it, no real transformation can occur. Beyond the shadow, we encounter the anima and animus, the inner opposite. In men, the anima represents the inner feminine. In women, the animus, the inner masculine. These archetypes often appear in dreams and projections, usually as romantic or spiritual figures. But their deeper purpose is to guide us toward integration of our unconscious polarity. By withdrawing projections and relating to these figures within, we begin to transcend duality. And then there is the self, the central archetype of order, meaning, and wholeness. The self is not the ego. It is the totality of the psyche, the source of our inner guidance and the goal of individuation. It often appears in dreams as mandalas, divine children, radiant figures, or symbols of unity. To experience the self is to encounter something both deeply personal and deeply universal. A moment of numinous insight that reveals the soul's purpose. Each of these archetypes has a phenomenological reality. They are not just abstract ideas, but living images in the psyche. They appear in dreams, fairy tales, mythology, art, and even our personal relationships. Jung spends entire chapters analyzing how archetypes shape our inner and outer lives. For example, in the essay on the trickster figure, he shows how this chaotic, boundary-breaking archetype appears in shamanic traditions, folklore, and modern behavior. The trickster is amoral, disruptive, but also necessary. It breaks down rigid structures and brings new life. In his essay on the psychology of the Anima and Animus, Jung explains how these archetypes evolve through stages from primitive projections to spiritual guides. In early stages, the anima may appear as seductive or emotional, the animus as opinionated or authoritarian. As integration progresses, they become mediators to the unconscious and open pathways to deeper creativity, feeling, and insight. A major theme in this volume is that individuation's process of becoming a whole person requires confronting, differentiating, and ultimately integrating these archetypal energies. We must become aware of the persona and shadow, withdraw projections of the anima or animus, and align our ego with the self. This is not a linear path. It is a spiral journey marked by dreams, inner conflicts, synchronicities, and symbolic experiences. It is a mythic process that takes place in the depths of our own lives. Jung also explores how archetypes express themselves in dreams and myths. Dreams are the language of the unconscious, and the symbols they use are often archetypal. A person dreams of descending into a cave, meeting a wise figure, encountering a serpent, or witnessing a birth. These are not random images, but expressions of the soul's structure. Similarly, in mythology and religion, archetypes appear as gods, heroes, demons, and saviors. Jung argued that religious symbols are containers for archetypal energy. When the symbolic life is lost, the psyche becomes unbalanced. When symbols are alive, they bring healing and coherence to the final analysis. The archetypes and the collective unconscious is both a map and a mirror. It offers a framework for understanding why we feel the way we do, why we suffer, why we repeat patterns, and why certain images resonate so deeply. But it also challenges us to take responsibility for our inner lives, to become conscious of the unconscious, to engage with the archetypes not as abstract ideas, but as living realities. It is a call to live mythically, to listen to the voice of the soul, and to walk the path of individuation. Jung did not offer easy answers. He offered depth, and in a world overwhelmed by distraction and fragmentation, his work remains a powerful invitation to go inward, to remember the old stories, and to discover in ourselves the eternal patterns that shape all human experience. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Carl Jung's The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious. If you found this exploration meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share. And let us know in the comments which archetype speaks most powerfully to you. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep walking the symbolic path.